Namaste Ji, Namaste. Welcome to a series called LLBx. The main aim of TLOI when I started this out way back in 17 was to cover out each and every prominent case law that they teach, whether in a 3-year program or whether it's a 5-year program. Pretty much the LLB, the contents of the LLB remain the same. And what I found that there was a lot of lack of guidance in terms of answer writing as to what to write, what not to write, and explanations also to the cases weren't up to the mark. So previously on the channel we have covered a lot of case laws, but then I'm going to restart this in a fresh series. So anytime that you want to look up a case law, if it has been covered, if you put in LLBx and it doesn't have to do anything with your x or my x, if you put in LLBx, well, pretty much you're going to find the case law. And we are starting out this series from today. So we start out with Ashby versus White, pretty much the first case law that you're going to hit with as soon as you enter into law school. And this comes under torts. Now, why does this come under tort? We need to demonstrate to the examiner whenever you're writing an answer that we know why you have taught us this case, right? So my earlier statement right now, why does this come under the concept of torts? Because it relates to two maxims that you rattled when you were preparing for your LLB entrance, right? In Juris and Damno, ubi jasi bhi remedium. Aha, days of coaching वापस याद आए. आए कि नहीं? So injurious and damno is, well, you suffered an injury without damages, great. And or rather damage. The damages in torts means, well, you want to recover damages, that you want money, right? You're seeking compensation. And ubi jasi bhi remedium is where there is a right, there has to be a remedy. And actually the law of torts is an evolution of this maxim. Wherever there is a remedy in law, there has to be a right associated with it. And if there is no remedy in law, maybe there is just no right that you can go to court for, which was violated, right? So everything, law of torts is pretty much, you can say, in its grand sense, you can say, it's ubi jasi bhi remedium, all right? Now, these two maxims you will mention alongside with facts, but in facts you need not focus on the judges' names. You need not focus on remembering each and every tiny micro detail of the facts, because the examiner already knows those facts. What they are examining you on is whether you know the law as to why you studied the case, and why they are asking you to explain the cases so that you demonstrate to them that you have understood the law associated with the case. All right. So now if you pick up different case mats, let's say that you pick up NLU Delhi's case mat, let's say then you pick up Delhi University's case mat, you pick up any other NLU's case mat, you're going to find certain terms which are in, you can say that they're differing with each other. So some say that William White was a returning officer, but you look it up on the internet, and you're going to find that some websites are going to say that he was a constable. Whatever he was, we're going to stick with returning officer for now. So these facts, they keep on varying depending on the sources that everybody else has copied pasted from. All right. So here in Mr. Ashby was there. Ashby, a resident of Aylesbury. Aylesbury is a town in England. And now the formal term is a burgess. So if you want to act all Ferangi in your examination, well, the formal term is burgess, that he was a settled inhabitant of the town. Now, primarily rather, in these videos, we are going to use English so that people from south of India don't miss out. And then certain lines will be in Hindi, but predominantly these videos are going to be in English, just a heads up for you. And from people from north of India, etc. are anyway which way mostly comfortable with English. So this is to our brothers and sisters from south of India, because I find that, and northeast of India as well, that I find that they have a lot of issues understanding Hindi, and they miss out on a lot of stuff that they otherwise would have been very comfortable with. Not all, obviously, exceptions are always there. Now William White says, our returning officer, that you go back. You are not going to be voting here, right? So he didn't allow Mr. Ashby to vote. And Mr. Ashby was like, but I have a right to vote, god damn it. That's a common law, right, that has been given to me. I am a registered voter here. How can you turn me back? But returning officer William White said, hey, go back. So this guy basically wanted damages, this guy wanted compensation that How am I denied my right? So if there is a right, there is going to be a remedy, right? If by the common law system, so remember we're talking about a case from 1703, that too in England, so I have to refer to common law provisions here, right? And there are no as such provisions written, especially in the case of torts. So common law system is giving him a right, correct? Now if that right is violated, there has to be a remedy there for this maxim. And injurious and damno is now obviously he didn't suffer a physical damage. So it was a legal injury. His right is violated. So can he recover damages? Yeah, sure enough, because that is what torts really is, correct? So the defense, this guy took, he took two defenses, that de minimis non curat lex, ये तो छोटी मोटी बात है. Okay, you go, right? And well, I didn't do any damage to you. How exactly are you going to recover money from me? Then what happened was, in the lower court, so Mr. Ashby wanted 200 pounds as compensation. थोड़े अमीर आदमी हैं, ठीक है? And the Queen's Court, so basically in the appellate process, 3 judges dissented. 3 judges it was, or forget, don't mention 3 judges, just mention a majority number of judges. The majority of judges said no. Well, to this judgment, just whatever I just said, dissented, forget that. To this judgment, they said no. Sorry, this is not passing by us. He will not be awarded anything. यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ गलत नहीं हुआ. The returning officer must have thought, was doing his duty. But then again, you need not focus here. The Chief Justice of this bench, he dissented, and his dissent was upheld by the House of Lords. That yeah, give him £5. Why? Injurious and damno ubi justi remedium. Because his right has been violated, there is a remedy in law, and the remedy we have given here. Now, whenever you're writing your answers in your semester exams, you're going to mention these two maxims, and then you're going to mention certain Indian provisions so that the examiner knows. ये तो हमारा गोरो का काम हो गया, correct? So now when we connect it with the Indian provisions, that is the statutory provisions that we have, we go one step higher, and well, we get good marks. That is what our aim is, right? So Mr. Sumit versus GNCTD, 29 July 2015. This is just a case law. If you can remember it, great. If you can't, no problem at all. So in this case, in this litigation rather, so the voter had already voted twice earlier in elections, but without notice, his name was deleted. So he got 10,000 rupees as compensation, right? But then this is a slightly different case than this, because herein you're actually physically going to the voter booth and attempting to give your vote, and then you're being returned ki chalo aage chalo, right? Herein your name has been deleted without any notice whatsoever. But then in this case law, it has been reported that the right to vote is a constitutional as well as a statutory right. Why is it a constitutional right? So some judges and some authors also argue that right to vote is available in Article 326. You remember that funny question? Right to vote is a dash 4 MCQs, 4 MCQ options, and different books have different answers. Some say it's a legal right, some say it's a constitutional right, some say it's a statutory right. What exactly is it? Nobody knows. So in this litigation and other litigations as well, a number of judgments say right to vote is a constitutional right as well as a statutory right, because under the statute, this you'll have to mention in any case. Mention 62 subsection 1 Representation of People Act 1951, wherein if your name is on the electoral roll, except that you are in jail, etc., except to the other provisions of the section, you have a right to vote. So since the right to vote is given in an act, it becomes a statutory right. And some authors and some jurists and some judges also argue that it's a constitutional right, even though it is not explicitly mentioned anywhere in Part 3, but it is mentioned in Article 326. That is what their argument pretty much is. Anyway, we're not going to get into that argument. Now, a similar concept, again, if you can remember this, I'm going to come to the crucial elements that you have to mention in your answers, but that's just about 2 to 3 minutes from now. So in Rudul Saha versus State of Bihar, this is a pretty much when you reach your LLM levels, when you reach your higher level judiciary examinations or law entrances, you're going to find one question often comes. In which case law did Supreme Court propound, or did Supreme Court give the concept of compensatory jurisprudence? So the funda is, I'm not going to go into the facts of this case. So the funda is that if your fundamental rights, which are guaranteed under Part 3 of the Constitution, guaranteed, and the word guaranteed is given where? Article 32 of the Constitution, that can you sue the state कि मुझे पैसे दो, कि जी मुझे पैसे दो? Can the state compensate you because your fundamental right has been violated? Supreme Court said yes, if you so seek. Yep, the case law is Rudul Shah versus State of Bihar. So here and also now, how is this connected? So it's very easy for me to just mention the case law and then just be on my way. But how is this connected? If this litigation is also saying that under it's a constitutional right, that's been violated, and you haven't been basically in this case law that the voter just couldn't vote despite having voted in previous 2 elections. Well, your fundamental right is being violated, and therefore we'll compensate you for it, right? So compensatory jurisprudence. If you can't remember this, it's okay, but try to quote the concept of compensatory jurisprudence. Rudul Shah versus State of Bihar, very, very popular MCQ in your LLM entrances. Now, but what you cannot afford to forget is Section 134 of the RPA, that is Representation of People Act 951, and it's given under Chapter 3 Electoral Offences. Section 134 RPA says breaches of official duty. So how do we get this guy in the dock, right? What can we do about him? It imposes a fine of 500 rupees on him and says no civil proceedings, etc. lie against him. Dehors. Dehors means dehors. And this is the legal term that I'm using. This is not given in the section. Dehors means outside the scope of. So basically, you're not gonna travel outside of this section. That is how pretty much you read and understand law, right? Dehors bhi aapne LLB entrance ke time pe rata hoga, legal terms, maxims pe, right? So now you understand where the application is from, right? So you're going to mention 62 RPA, you're going to mention 134, if possible mention compensatory jurisprudence, Rudul Shah versus State of Bihar. Hopefully the facts are clear. You can refer to your case mat for more detailed facts and basically write it in your own flowery language, but this is basically the main funda, and that is what my job is. I never focus on explaining the facts in like 10-page essays. Not my point. My point is the law. So 4 elements that you will mention: 2 maxims and 62 134 RPA connected to the Indian provisions, and the examiner knows then ये पढ़ क्या है basically. तो एग्जामिनर को बता भी दीजिएगा कि आपको भी, मतलब एग्जामिनर को नहीं, प्रोफेसर साहब को, कि अगर आपको ही पढ़ना हो तो आप भी LLBx टाइप कर लीजिए यूट्यूब पे, आपको भी ज्ञान मिल जाएगा. नहीं, उनसे तो हम ज्ञान लेते हैं. They are seniors to us. Just a joke. Hopefully nobody takes offense. Well, even if you do, what goes of my father, any which way. So here we are in answer writing, right? And that's about it. See you in the next one. Let's first, in the LLBx series, cover out case laws from Torts only. I'll create a separate playlist. So there's a playlist already of Torts. I'm going to rename the previous videos wherein I've covered case laws as LLBx, and then label it in a number-wise series and basically make out one single playlist so that it's easier for you to find it. All right. Now, see you in the next one. Hope you're keeping safe. Take very good care of yourself. And thank you for being here. Grateful to you. Take care.